or they pretty good discussion on a lot of topics. But let's talk about. Okay, let's unmute that. Let's turn this down because this is a little loud.
But you mentioned Lego Fortnite earlier, and I
Yeah, so for context, this is Jared Noose, the executive producer of Overwatch, as you can see from the title. And they talked about Workshop recently, and I kind of wanted to, at least like in video format, give my 2 cents on it. So here we go.
think the whole game industry is looking at these kind of things as like, wow, this is incredible what people are doing,
Yeah.
and the Overwatch Workshop was kind of like the starter wheels of that kind of a project. But is there any idea of something bigger, like a full-on map editor or like a creative mode that really lets people dive deeper with the assets that are in Overwatch to make new things for themselves?
Just starting here, like I wasn't expecting going into this that they would ever kind of do anything like Lego Fortnite or like what Fortnite's done in general. Nor was I really expecting anything like Minecraft because like Minecraft was built in a language that a lot of people can understand, and there's been a lot of effort put into like modding the game and such, and as a result the source code's very well understood. The server is also distributed to people, so that also facilitates being able to kind of modify that aspect of the game. Whereas Overwatch is obviously very closed source and they encrypt their source code, which makes it extremely difficult to actually get into the code itself. So any kind of scripting system or modding system has to be made by the devs and not by, and this is true of all live service games. But that kind of thing has to be made by the devs and not by the community, which is what Minecraft does. And obviously Fortnite is just the everything game, as Vlad's put it, and that that means that they have a ton of RQ entered Overwatch. Thank you. Um, that means they just have a ton of devs to kind of work on the problem, and also Unreal Engine is extremely powerful and already has been used to make a lot of games, so it's proven on that front too. Let's continue.
Not to that extent. Like Lego Fortnite is like absolutely incredible in terms of like what it is and the scope that it has. Like it is a big experience. So for us, I think what we would want to focus on with Workshop going forward is, we were able to do a really cool event that was with the mode created by a creator earlier this year in
Sure, forgot my name. Pepe Hands. They took 2 years to follow the trend of live service. They'll take longer to follow trend Fortnite's setting right now. I'm not even sure they want to. I already watched this, so pre-watched lol. But like Jared talks about how they're not really interested in going really big with it immediately. They kind of want to see where Workshop goes on its own.
the Demon Lord mode that we did for season five,
Yeah, as Trapper said,
and
if there's enough demand, they will.
like building on the tool set that we have so that we can enable people to make more stuff like that like is bigger and more interesting and like potentially is like integrated as a direct part of our events or like our live game, is sort of the thing that I would want to like
Wait, hold on. Actually, I want to go back because I think he says something interesting that I just now catch or caught.
that like is bigger and more interesting so that we can enable people to make more stuff like that like is building on the tool set that we have so that we can enable people to make more stuff like that.
More stuff like that. So in terms of Demon Lord, like building upon the tools so that people can make stuff on the scale of Demon Lord. And I do say like it did take me like 2 weeks to make this kind to make Demon Lord. But I think it's pretty feature rich, and there's stuff that isn't necessarily like default with Workshop, right? Like the power up system. Uh and also kind of like the talent esque kind of, or not talent esque, yeah, no, talent esque stuff I put on Reinhardt, and I would have liked to have done more with the other side to make it a little more fun, but I didn't want to like stray too far from what people were used to because I didn't want to introduce kind of like a learning curve like that comes with Lucio Ball or even like May's Snowball Offensive, uh, which is
Like,
live now with.
is
Oops, I
is
did not mean to unpause. Yeah, there's kind of like a learning curve, right? Because those abilities change a little bit. You can't use them like the way you normally would. Although Maywall and Ice Block are kind of the same, it's just tweaked a little. At this point, I don't think the community really cares about map editor. Like they care about small fixes and maybe some new additions to the things we already have available. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, definitely. I think bug fixes and also just quality of life tweaks. Like right now, you can kind of it used to be you couldn't set Zarya's like ability charge, right? Like you couldn't change how many bubbles she has, or uh and also like you can't tell where pets are, right? You can't tell where barriers are. You can't tell where Bob is, right? Which is under pets. And you can't tell where abilities are being targeted. You can't tell you can't get like who might be targeted by an ability, right? And I think that kind of stuff is something that would be super helpful for Workshop just because people instinctually want to tweak how abilities work in Overwatch, right? Like they want to either do something based on what the game does or kind of emulate what the game does. And being unable to do that in those particular circumstances kind of sucks. And we have workarounds, but they're really janky, and you kind of have to have like the knowledge, right? Instead of finding like a value or an action in the workshop. Okay, let me read chat a little. Your Demon Lord mode was constrained by time, wasn't it? Yes. And more than Blizzard would have liked, actually, or more than Blizzard actually gave me time for, because at the time I was finishing my graduate school finals. So, unlucky. Map editors and no, just want more elements. I think people want more elements. Yeah, I can see that. Bug fixes, supporting new heroes, making the already present features work like they did in Overwatch 1. Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think there's too much more to say. Let me
is bigger and more interesting and like potentially is like integrated as a direct part of our events or like our live game is sort of the thing that I would want to like get better at first. Overwatch.
Wait, what did he say? This is such a run-on sentence. Hold on.
Building on the tool set that we have so that we can enable people to make more stuff like that like is bigger and more interesting and like potentially is like integrated as a direct part of our events or like
Integrated as a direct part of our events. So when I watched this originally, I thought he was talking about like, oh, the devs could use Workshop to integrate it into events. But it seems like he might be implying that creators could use it as part of events, which is interesting. I'm not going to get too excited about that. I'm not quite sure what he's talking about here, honestly. So we'll see.
like our live game is sort of the thing that I would want to like.
I genuinely like don't. Oh jeez, I just clipped my fucking mic. One sec. I need to bring this compressor down, or I need to make it not freak it. Actually, let me bump the compressor up a little. Let's make it. I think I had it on 15 for. Okay, so I shouldn't clip my mic if I just talk normally. So yeah, with regards to what Jared just said, I don't know what that would entail. Like, what does it mean that Workshop is more integrated with their event system? Like, what does it mean that it's easier to make stuff like Demon Lord, right? Because it wasn't necessarily hard to make Demon Lord. It's just, I'm not sure how much work on the back end went into like taking my Workshop code and actually turning it into an event, right? So if that's what he's talking about, that's great. But it also doesn't necessarily materially affect us right now as the Workshop community. It's nice to see someone with power speaking about Workshop. I just want to see actions. Yeah, same. Wonder if they'll feature an already existing mode in the arcade. I mean, they could, but I think just kind of featuring something that already exists might cause like a clamor where it's like, okay, but can you feature my thing? No, can you feature my thing? You know, like that kind of like push. Like, can you feature my chill kill widow headshot lobby or something? Um,
Get better
I don't know. They might. I mean, it'd be cool if they did, but I also don't know if that's a door they want to open right now.
at first. Overwatch, the workshop in Overwatch has always been like, you know, really good for people who are like hyper invested in getting into the details. But it's not particularly friendly to people who haven't used that kind of stuff before. And also, it has some gaps. There's bugs in it and things like.
Okay, so I should have paused earlier. First part where he says that it's not particularly friendly, it's for power users. I mean, I feel like that's just inherently part of a system like this. Unless you spend a lot of time developing like a Scratch interface or like visual scripting that you can scrub back through events and see like little nodes light up as you go through, which admittedly they do have some tools for that internally if you look at their GDC talks. But or they did. I don't know if they still use them. Um, Also, this is kind of bothering me. Let's move this out of the way. But I don't know. I'm not sure why he brings this up so much, unless it's to kind of highlight the point that it's not necessarily a priority because it's not used by like a ton of the player base. Hold on, let me read this. Magazine friends really put effort into making user friendly, but sadly didn't work out, and people still think Workshop is magic. Yeah, I just, I'm not sure how to put this because the I think it's just that it's hard for some people to like visualize, or not some people, a lot of people to visualize how you can how the text you are putting on screen kind of like conceptually maps to what's happening in game, right? Cactus music bot stream, hi pops. Um it feels like a priority to make it more user friendly so it has more engagement. Ooh, hello. Pops is following, thank you. Yeah, so I guess you could read it that way. But I feel like he doesn't really follow up on this. Here, let me go back just like a few seconds so we can
For people who are like hyper invested in getting into the details. But it's not particularly friendly to people who haven't used that kind of stuff before.
Okay, so I think then he goes on to
And
say,
also, it has some gaps. There's
I think what he's trying to do here is just kind of, jeez, I need to like listen to longer stretches of this. Hold on.
a creator earlier this year in the Demon Lord mode that we did for season 5, and like building on the tool set that we have so that we can enable people to make more stuff like that like is bigger and more.
Okay, so I think Netix, you might actually be right because when he brings up like in the context of building out the tool set so that it's easier and more approachable. I think that is the point. That's kind of the read I'm getting. Chat, if you disagree, let me know. But that's kind of the read I'm getting.
More interesting and like potentially is like integrated as a direct part of our events or
Lady
like
Sook,
our
hello.
live game is sort of the thing that I would want to like get better at first. Overwatch, the workshop in Overwatch has always been like, you know, really good for people who are like hyper invested in getting into the details. But it's not particularly friendly to people who haven't used that kind of stuff before. And also, it has some gaps. There's bugs in it and things like that. And so when I think about where I'd want us to go with that, it's not to the level of like, have a full map editor where you can do scenarios and scripting and all that kind of stuff, like some other games have done. For me, it's like the baby step there first is just make it more stable, robust, like make it something that we can like consistently use and even use to build big events for the game.
Okay, so it's always I just realized that like re-summarizing what Jared has said is always like, not always, but rather like it's like I'm messing with audio levels, so if I ever turn this into a YouTube video, future me is gonna hate me. Because I need to turn my mic down, but still be louder than everything else. Um okay, so I think the big point that Jared is trying to make here is that they don't want to go big with workshop yet before they kind of build like the foundation for it, right? Like before they make it something that's not a pain in the butt, because you never know if something's not working because you mess something up or you just don't understand how it works, or if there's genuinely like a bug with how it interacts with the rest of the system. Um that's kind of the vibe I'm getting there. Which I totally agree with. I feel like making I think big flashy features might draw more attention to it, but without the retention rate, because of kind of acknowledgement of work, in terms of, you know, being featured or having some recognition, because like the if you guys remember or not remember, but back in Overwatch 1 they did an overhaul to the game browser where um they introduced the popular tab, right? They introduced the idea of ranking by playtime. And personally, I think it was it was problematic because they kind of incentivized a certain type of mode over everything else. Before it was kind of like a pretty, I mean, it wasn't an even playing field by any means, because you know the chill modes that you could kind of join and uh, you know, putter around in for an hour, like the parkour modes and all of that. Those tended to dominate the game browser, but they weren't like the featured mode, right? Like you could open the game browser and see them, sure, but it wasn't the default that was shown to you de facto, right? Before it's free for all and luck based, yeah, and like if somebody just wasn't hosting your lobby, like it wouldn't show up, right? Or if someone wasn't hosting a lobby of your code, right, it wouldn't show up. But the big AFK modes were still kind of advantage, but now with the playtime system, I think some people feel, or creators rather, of the workshop variety tend to feel very incentivized to make modes that are that prioritize playtime over everything else, right? Like there's no big, as in they're trying to spread their punch out over a long series, a long time, instead of doing something that's over in 10 minutes but it's super fun, right? I'm not saying one is better than the other, but rather the current popularity system favors the, which one did I say first? The former over the latter. um so all that to say, like the current incentives are kind of like you either are a creator yourself who has some kind of social media following. Who's that person? Um, hold on. I need to find this person because ah they made some really good they make some really good content on YouTube about like Overwatch. Oh hey look, Karki put out a video. I'm not gonna react to that because that's Karki stuff. But Overwatch Workshop, change for every hero. I think that might be it. Um Yeah, Kendall R. I think that's the person I was looking at. They use the workshop to make videos, right? So that's one way you can kind of have that intrinsic recognition, right? That goal you're working towards. You can do something like me where you are, you know, working with content creators, reaction streamer. I mean, I am reacting right now. I just kind of wanted to give my 2 cents on this. How long is this? 57 minute, 3 minutes of workshop discussion, because I feel like it's more than we get. We're hungry for morsels over here. It's the Overwatch 1 content drought for workshoppers. Good reaction, don't worry. Yeah, I'm not trying to like just mooch off of people's content, sit here and like munch chips or something. Yeah, so to summarize, you're either creating workshops because you just like creating workshops, or you're creating workshops because you would like at least some degree of recognition. Of course, the two aren't mutually exclusive, but the recognition currently comes from you gamble on whether or not your mode gets popular in the popular tab, um, or Or you make videos based on your workshops, or you're like me and you don't necessarily make the videos yourself, but you work with people who do make videos, like Emog, like CarQ, like Flats. Um, and the third slot is super limited, as you're aware, right? Like, building a reputation with famous streamers when there's at no small fraction of chatters who are trying to do the same is really hard. And most people don't bother because they'll get ignored because they have no reputation with them. Git pull, Mao wrong window. Can we hold on? I need a better background for this. Can we shame this? Can we shame this chatter right here? Just typed git pull into my chat window like it's a terminal. All right, hold on. We gotta zoom in. We gotta zoom in. Hold on. Enhance. Look at this. Look at this silly chatter right here. Just put git pull in my chat. What the heck? Why would you do that? Okay, anyways. Sorry, I'm messing with you. I've done it too, don't worry. Anyways, someone clip that. Where was I? Right. So the third slot where a workshop creator fatal, not a Git repository. Hi Patrick. The third slot's extremely limited. The second slot where you make your own videos is extremely time consuming, and the first slot really doesn't afford that much reputation. Like if you show up in a quick play match, right, and you're like, hey, I'm the creator of a chill kill lobby, right? Workshop deck Nightbot. Hold on. I gotta whitelist workshop.codes on my Nightbot because all right. Options. Let's see. Workshop.codes is whitelisted. There we go. Maybe I should just disable that filter until it becomes a problem. Hey, yeah, let's do that. Access emotes. Yeah, we'll stick with that. Dude, I'm getting so sidetracked. Yeah, it's fine. So like if you show up in a quick play match, you're like, I'm the creator of Chill Kill. I feel like most people are just gonna look at you and be like, who? Or did you steal it? Or like, cool, I guess. Being warned for your own website is wild, unlucky. So like the opportunities for that extra effort to be rewarded are extremely limited, right? Whereas if you just play the game, you're inherently getting rewarded by the gameplay loop, right? And that's what the dev team is focusing on. But I think there's a bit of a hidden gem here now that I think about it, where if they talk about making the system more able to integrate into events, I feel like there's room there for more people to get recognized like I did and to be featured, which I think would be really cool. And I hope they do it. So yeah, that's that.
If
Right.
it goes anywhere from there, it'll be based purely on like demand or need, right? Because say we have 15 people spend a year just making workshop like the greatest thing ever, and then 2% of the community engages with it. I'm like, that probably wasn't the right way to spend that time. And so yeah, well, it'll be a little bit more iterative. It'll be a little bit smaller in scope, and then if there's a bunch of demand, we'll build on it from there.
Okay, so this is a great point by Jared. He's obviously coming at it through the lens of a producer, and a producer's one of a producer's responsibilities is to kind of guide the team on what to focus on, right? And help people accomplish those goals. And if one of those goals is to improve the workshop, obviously, or improve the game, right? Overall, kind of lost my own train of thought, but the point being that having the example he gives, like if we have 15 people like make workshop like a full on like Unreal Engine style platform where you can make your own maps, you can make your own textures, animations, audio, import audio, right? Change the engine so that you can load map data on the fly, download map data on the fly. What else would they need to do, right? Like all that jazz, QA it. Um, and then they release it, right? And it kind of sucks, or it doesn't land very well, or it's not received very well, or it's not used by a lot of people. That would be terrible, right? Because those resources could have been spent elsewhere. And I think you can actually see that with PvE. If now that we bring it up, like they went dark, right? They said like, okay, we're gonna divert a whole bunch of resources into PvE. We're gonna make it great, right? We're gonna do this. We're gonna do this. We're gonna change the engine. We're gonna do all this. And it's gonna be great, right? Like we're gonna introduce like new cutscene streaming tech. Blah 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 blah. They did all of that, and they couldn't deliver, right? Like they spent 3 years on it, and it didn't add up. So I feel like, yeah, that it's not like we're gonna have. I feel like even if they could spare the manpower, they don't want to, because it could end up being a huge waste of time. And of course that's a general problem with game dev right now. But uh, I feel like that's just not the kind of strategic risk they want to take right now, and I can't fault them for it. Hire more people. I don't even think it's that, because you hire more people, and then what, right? You send them off to gamble, right? You've put in the capital, the time to train people, bring them up to speed, integrate them with the team, and then you send them off to go work on this thing, and you have no idea if it's going to work. You have no idea if there's demand for it. You have no idea if there's any kind of like return on that investment. And even if I wasn't like even if I was Activision Blizzard and I wasn't like super greedy, like that's a risk that a lot of studios don't want to take. For Fortnite, it's kind of like they just print money, right? They also have an engine that's already amenable to tooling. So yeah. They simply don't have the resources to work on Workshop. Um, if there's demand, then hire. I mean, I imagine they will. If the Workshop like pulls its weight on that front, then they'll pull in more devs to work on it, or they'll divert more resources to work on it. Which is what they end up saying here, right? Like if there's a bunch of demand, we'll build on it from there. And that's perfectly fine. I just I feel like it's a little bit out of a little bit out of their hands, and a little bit out of my own hands personally, besides like making good workshops that people engage with, and like having a measurable impact on the game as a result, right? Like if good workshop modes help retain players through the natural seasonal cycle that comes with live service games, right? Like, there's the hype at the beginning of the season where we kind of are now, right? It kind of dies off a little bit. The events have little bumps that add people, or like that drive little bits, little peaks of interest, and the rest of it is kind of like just okay. I'm kind of bored of Overwatch, right? Like if the workshop helps ease that a little bit, then I feel like that could be one way that the workshop is proven to have demand, right? For recap, they'll fix bugs, maybe increase possibilities, then if more demand, hire people and build on it. Yeah, so basically just make the workshop, as Jared put it, more robust, and have more like be less buggy, and maybe like integrate a little bit better with the existing game.
Right, so what I'm hearing is workshoppers, you need to start getting the community rallied. You need to start signing some petitions or something, get everyone to play all your workshop modes and create cool stuff.
And to be fair, like I want to bring more of that stuff into the game in like our events, and like I want to be able to feature creators who like really understand and make rad stuff in workshop. I want to make them kind of front and center more next year than we did this year. So yeah,
awesome. And yeah,
okay, so make them more front and center next year. They want to do that, right? And Netix brings up a good point in chat. They haven't promised anything, which I think is fair, because they're probably still thinking about it. And they haven't done anything yet on that front, which again also fair. But I think having a glimpse into what they're thinking about it is valuable, just because it just because it gives us an idea of like maybe how much we as players of the game should be invested into kind of pushing ourselves, right? Because right, like if there's kind of that at least like understanding that making something really good in the workshop might have the potential to have more resources put into the workshop so that it becomes a virtuous cycle, that understanding I think is at least worth a little bit, right? Apparently you didn't watch the High Tank next year. Nice. Yeah. I mean, they mean 2024, the entire year. So things could still be like a year out. So yeah, that's the end of the section. So I think I've done all the reacting I want to on that front. I am trying to figure out how I can arrange my windows right now because I am a monitor down due to the new PC not having as many HDMI ports as I thought it would. Sure, it's a timeline to look forward to. Yeah, again, I'm not super hung up on the dates on that front because I don't necessarily I'm just kind of like in a wait and see mode, and also it's not like for me, like I feel like I have it's a little selfish, but I already have the recognition and the sustain I could kind of want from this game in terms of the work I do. So yeah,